What's up, you guys? Aaron Mack. Back to detect more BS on the BS Detector channel. I tried literally twice yesterday to record, and I got like once, maybe, I don't know, like 9 minutes in, and my phone stopped recording. It said it was full. So then I deleted a bunch of stuff. I offloaded apps again, and then I tried it again, and I maybe got, I don't know, 7 minutes in or 5 minutes in, I don't know, and it stopped again. So I'm going to try again. I deleted so many apps. I went through all my pictures. I probably deleted 500 or 600 pictures, videos. So there should be room for me to sit here and read this to you guys today. I mean, what the heck? What the heck and heck? Anyways, so, and I actually have whatever the Google Cloud service is, and I have the Apple one too. Nevertheless, I still have all this stuff like clogging up. I think I need to go and like empty out my emails too. Probably that would probably help matters. But today, okay, so the past 3 books that we've read, right? We're talking about like the modern day Shmainists, the one that like identify as people from the Old Testament, but they're not them at all, genetically, religiously, nothing. But they've created this geopolitical state to try to basically psyop the Bible. I mean, that's my contention. They're psyoping the Bible because I think the Bible, most of it already happened. So, like, what are we even doing with all this crazy, them trying to build a third temple, all this crazy stuff, right? Is anyone ever, y'all are noticing, the noticers, this is a channel for the noticers, okay? And if you're not noticing by now, wake the fuck up. And I say that with all the love of my heart. Anyways, so we established that, you know, they were basically behind World War I, World War II. Then, because somehow loosely Great Britain wound up with Palestine, I'm sorry, they were able to then give it to the Shmainists. So they're pretending like, you know, they're returning to the land when they were never there in the first place. They were from the steppes of the Caucasus and eastward. Anyways, so this is more of having to do with like some of the things, because I don't know if you've also noticed that banking is a large industry that they're in control of. Hollywood, just the general like news media, all journalism, politicians, companies. There's like laws on books, I think in South Carolina and maybe Florida, that like you are not allowed to boycott them in doing business. Like, anyways, okay, so I think we all know who them are. We know who them are. We know who they are at this point, right? They. So this, and also they're very involved in the sciences, in academia, literally pushing Marxist ideology throughout all of the universities in this country and probably all Western countries, because they hate us. They think we're Amalek, which is like an Old Testament typography of a person or a people that must utterly be destroyed, okay? In this prophecy from the Old Testament that has already been fulfilled. Anyways, so this book is called, it's about the Tavistock Institute, which I know I've mentioned in a couple of videos before, that it's basically like a think tank, kind of like an MK Ultra-y kind of social engineering type thing. And I know that definitely in like in the past 5, 6, 10 years at least, they've been real heavy on the handling cases where the kids are transitioning and stuff. They're really pro that. If I don't know if you can find it, but go look for a video called Barbara Specter Multiculturalism and see what she has to say about the West and multiculturalism. Anyways, I'm going to be quiet now and start reading. It's called The Tavistock Institute, Social Engineering for the Masses, written by a guy named Daniel Estulin. And he's got some credits. I mean, he's written several books. He's a journalist. He's done like a documentary. He's worked with Jesse Ventura, which used to have a really freaking good show, dude. I'm of the firm belief that they have to tell us what they're going to do before they do it, like The Simpsons and like on Family Guy. I mean, especially The Simpsons. South Park, it's like predictive program kind of stuff. So this is the introduction. Okay. This is for the purposes of education and commentary. Fair use. Thank you. Okay. Tavistock in Sussex, England, quote, is the world's center for mass brainwashing and social engineering activities, end quote. From a somewhat crude beginning at Wellington House grew a sophisticated organization that was to shape the destiny of the entire planet and in the process change the paradigm of modern society. In this revolutionary work, which undoubtedly will have the effect of a 500 kiloton nuclear explosion, we uncover both the Tavistock network and the methods of brainwashing and psychological warfare being adapted then and now for application to large-scale social engineering projects. This is the, quote, Aquarian conspiracy, end quote, as the brainwashers refer to themselves, referring to a super-secret 1974 Stanford Research Institute study entitled Changing Images of Man. You can think of this book as essentially an anti-brainwashing combat manual. Brainwashing depends on the ignorance of the victims. It is all around us. We can all perceive disintegration of our nations in terms of day-to-day personal experiences. However, this is not a coincidence. This is not an accident. What we are witnessing all around us is a planned disintegration of the world economy by the most powerful people in the world. This book on the Tavistock Institute attempts to show that the conspiracy is real, who is behind it, what are its final long-term objectives, and how we the people can stop them from taking us to hell. Beyond utter rage and indignation, the conclusion you, the reader will reach is that the moral, material, cultural, and intellectual decay that we are witnessing helplessly every day across the globe is not accidental, not an act of God who is punishing us for our earthly misdeeds, but a deliberately induced social crisis. And that's what I'm saying. Most of America, like anybody that's ever been to church like once or twice, okay, literally they're all believing, okay, I'm sorry, I gotta get closer, a little bit closer. They're all believing this BS John Darby and C.I. Scofield futurist eschatology that Jesus hasn't come back yet. He's going to come and rapture everybody out of here. That is not biblical, and it already happened, and it wasn't a rapture, but whatever. Okay. Beyond utter rage and indignation, the conclusion you, the reader, will reach is that the moral, material, cultural, and intellectual decay. Okay. Oh, I already read that. Okay. I repeat, this is not a test. This is real, and what's at stake is the future of our planet. Welcome. Make yourselves at home. All the kooks of the world are coming out in the most impressive witches' Sabbath yet. In the world of smoke and mirrors, there are no flukes, no coincidences, and no accidents. This we prove beyond any reasonable doubt, just as we would have to if we were disputing this case in a court of law. Only the highest standard of excellence and proof will serve our objectives. The stakes are too high and odds against us are too great. What's in the balance is the future of the planet, the immortality of the human race, and the survival of our species. We will prevail. We will succeed no matter what the cost. There are no second chances, third options, or fourth ways. This is it. And with this work that shall stand the test of time, I have drawn the line in the sand. They will not pass. We will not surrender. During World War II, quote, Tavistock, and remember, let me just screw it for a second. Remember, World War II was, basically caused by meddling Schmionists because Germany was totally willing to accept the terms. And then Britain was like, no, let's get the Americans involved. So, like, that whole thing is a questionable situation, if you ask me. But, what do I know? What do I know? Okay. During World War, During World War II, quote, Tavistock was the headquarters of the British Army's Psychological Warfare Bureau, which through the arrangements of the Special Operations Executive also dictated policy to the United States Armed Forces in the matters of psychological warfare, end quote. Wow. And now look what's happening with our military and the Schmionists military. They're merging forces. And these people, the IDF, they are merciless, okay? So wait till they get here on this soil and start trying to police people, bro. And these Noahide laws kick off, bro. They're already trying to figure out how to allocate miles and where you can go and how far you can drive, like, and wanting us to eat the bugs and stuff. Like, shit's about to get real, y'all. It's about to get real, unless everyone stands up and is like, absolutely not. We will not do this. Which I'm pretty sure they have electronic weapons and stuff that they could render pretty much all of us, like, paralyzed with a sound frequency wave, you know? That's how they do. Anyways, I think that's how they got, what's-his-face out of Venezuela. They used some kind of sound weapon and it just immobilized all the soldiers and they just went in and got him. Anyways, that's a whole different tangent that I'm going on. Look around you. As the result of a frontal assault on our future by the world's leading social scientists and behavior engineers, the moorings of national moral purpose have collapsed. We the people have surrendered to a morally indifferent irrationality. And that's facts, dude. I went back to college when I was like probably, I don't know, 12 years ago or something, maybe 11 years ago. And by that point, I was a fully formed adult with a fully formed mind and opinions and knowledge. And it was so obvious that they were just trying to brainwash these kids. I mean, it was crazy. And I ended up just dropping out because I was like, I'm not going to pay you guys tens of thousands of dollars to attempt to indoctrinate me when I know what you're telling me is BS. BS detector, baby. I was born to be a BS detector. Anyways. Okay. We the people have surrendered to a more, irrational. Make no mistake, everything from the New Left to Watergate to Vietnam to Pentagon Papers to the insane hippies, the anti-war movement, and the drug rock counterculture were also pre-planned social engineering projects. Yes, we know that. We know that Manson and the Beach Boys and all of them, the beat poets and writers, they were all in on this CIA psychological operation to manipulate the minds of the culture and get them to go down these. I mean, everybody knows somebody whose parents was a hippie. That wasn't just in like clothing and in dress. It was a philosophy. It was a way of thinking. And these people just have been playing with people's minds through music, through media, through Hollywood, through entertainment, through sports, through all this stuff for like a century now, basically. It's crazy. I repeat, what's under assault are not only our individual human rights, but rather the very institution of the, quote, nation state, republic, from the oligarchy's, quote, massive social engineering program conducted through Tavistock Institute for Human Relations and other much larger integrated network of centers of applied social psychology and social engineering that emerged in the aftermath of World War II, end quote. Yeah, they had to get that brainwashing machine going, baby, so they could convince the people, 6 million, and, that, like, they were a legit, biblical people returning back to their land, and they had to, like, go back and allegedly, go back and like revise a whole history and also pit people groups against each other and undermine the fabric of cultures. I mean, like, while I was cleaning out my phone, I actually found some really choice screenshots and memes and stuff that, like, I have OBS now on my laptop, so hopefully I can get that plugged up and then maybe use that camera and this phone to, like, do a couple of shots or something. I'm due for an upgrade on this phone anyway, so I'm about to just use it as a camera. But anyways, yeah. So I would like to be able to put some of those up. I'm sure there's a way I can even on this phone, but that kind of tell you like all the things that these people are into and have done. And it's just absolutely insane. Okay, so these groups regard us and the principle of nation states as their axiomatic philosophical enemy. So not only, in like, not even in religion, and just like fundamental beliefs about life and liberty and how to live in freedom, they fundamentally disagree. And they are the Bolsheviks. They're Bolsheviks. That's what they are. I mean, same people. This interlocked juggernaut of evil consists of some of the world's most prestigious centers of knowledge and research, such as Stanford Research Center at Stanford University, Rand Corporation, MIT Sloan, the Advanced Center of Behavioral Sciences at Palo Alto, the Institute of Social Research at the University of Michigan, the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, the Harvard Business School, London School of Economics, the National Training Laboratories, the Hudson Institute, Estulin Institute, the National Institute of Mental Health, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the Office of Naval Research. There are others, such as the Geneva-based International Foundation for Development Alternatives and Executive Conference Center. Like, word salad. Word salad. The first full-time Age of Aquarius graduate school charged with teaching behavior modification for high-level executives from Fortune's top 500 companies. Human zombies placed at top-level management positions to lead us into the new dark age of transcendental consciousness. Two foci. First, changes needed in the United States, and second, the global order. Over the period of half a century, tens of billions of dollars have been allocated by the government of the United States. And with surreptitious help from think tanks and foundations aligned with Tavistock to fund the work of these groups. Every aspect of the mental and psychological life of people on the planet was profiled, recorded, and stored into computer systems. Above the closely cooperating groups of social scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, anthropologists, think tanks, and foundations presides the elite of powerful members of the oligarchy, comprised mostly of the old Venetian black nobility. And I think I might have a book on that. What is the purpose of these behavior modifications, you may ask? It is to bring about forced changes to our way of life without our agreement and without ever realizing what is happening to us. The ultimate goal being, quote, the complete extirpation of mankind's inner sense of identity, the tearing out of mankind's innermost soul, and the placement in the vacant space of an artificial synthetic pseudo-soul, end quote. How lovely. Doesn't that sound lovely, guys? Just scoop my brains out with a melon baller and fill me with your fucking chips and nano particles or what, self-assembling nanotech. Like, no, don't. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. But like, you know what I'm saying? This shit's getting a little crazy out here. I mean, legit. However, in order to change mankind's behavior away from industrial production into spiritualism and to bring us willfully into the world of post-industrial era, zero growth and zero progress, one must force first a change in mankind's, quote, self-image, its fundamental conception of what we are. Thus, the image of man appropriate to that new era must be sought, synthesized, and then wired into mankind's brain. And how are they going to do that? Brainwashing. As Professor John McMurtry wrote in his 2001 opening address at the Science for Peace Forum held at the University of Toronto, totality of rule is not only... I'm sorry, let me start over. Blah, blah, blah. It's very early in the morning. Okay. Quote, totality of rule is not the only parameter of totalitarianism. Limitlessness of power also proceeds from an omnipresent center, end quote. In the new totalitarian movement, quote, this omnipresent directive force, end quote. That was anticlimactic, communicates through behavior modification and identity change, the dominant nodes of the interlocked system. Psychological terror is not the essence, quote, but the punctuation mark of the new totalitarianism's meaning. The money and consumption command channel is the secret of the movement's success because it avoids responsibility for its failures. Wall Street prescribed market failures to provide for societies are instead always attributed to transcendental forces of the, quote, invisible hand, end quote, punishing these societies for alleged sins against, quote, market laws, end quote. Thus, as catastrophes increasingly befall the majority of the world, the victims are blamed for their new deprivation, misery, and oppression. This is a far more effective mode of rule than jackboot terror, which is more overt, but it exposes the system to another form of resistance. To keep the majority in a continual state of inner anxiety works because people are made too busy securing or competing for their own survival to cooperate in mounting an effective response. This, too, has Tavistock's signature all over it. Quote, in the past decade, the entire population of the globe has been kept permanently off balance with one financial meltdown and transnational trade fiat after another, emptying national coffers and overriding rights of domestic self-determination. And that is because of the bankers. And what kind of people are the bankers? Jays. They're Kabbalists. They're Talmudists. They are entitled. They think that this world is theirs and that we are going to worship them. And if we don't, they're going to unalive us and chop off of our heads. I mean, that's just the plan, bro. All right. Blah, 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 blah. Populations have been so overwhelmed by the moving juggernaut of economic and environmental crises that a rule of universal insecurity has rendered social majorities paralyzed by low-intensity terror. And that's facts. It's just been one thing after another, after another, after another. And it's not to the point where it's like taking anybody down like permanently, but it's making it so hard to like, it's just making the struggle real, basically. The necessary condition for any totalitarian movement is to continue its advance because keeping its subjects perpetually off balance is its modus operandi. And they're doing that too, not just through the financial system, but through like the education system, through like the between the different generations they're causing strife, between the races they're causing strife, between the sexes they're causing strife. They are putting divide and conquer tactics down to all of us in one form or fashion, whether it be black to white, white to black, man to woman, woman to man, children to parents, parents to children. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on socially, and it's wild. Okay. Let's see. Where was I? Okay. In previous periods of history, we have seen draconian measures put through at the national level, but we have never seen such an assault on people's rights and democratic standards. Each new measure, viewed on its own, may seem an aberration, but a whole host of changes as part on an ongoing continuum constitutes a shift towards total enslavement. Total power is a superterrestrial correlative of global power, which can conceive of no limit to itself. There are many challenges for us to overcome. When presented with all the facts, when the evidence is neatly laid out on the table, when the conspirators have been unmasked and defrocked and their deeds shown for all the world to see, still the ordinary citizen screams conspiracy, refusing to believe that such a monstrous, mind-boggling collusion is real until it's too late. Be warned. That's literally, like, I'm going to get that tattooed on my forehead. Be warned. That's what I'm out here trying to do. That is legit the purpose of this channel, dude. At the very bottom line is to like warn you guys. Like, I love people in general, and I know I'm screaming into the void here with this little tiny channel. I ain't nobody, but I mean, I've got a couple of brain cells to rub together, and I've got a little bit of discernment, and I can see this stuff coming. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it, but I'm trying to warn people. Like, so maybe we could like drop all this bull crap of like hating each other and being mad over stupid crap, Republican, Democrat, Muslim, Christian, whatever. We have got to like say no to these freaking Jays and their Noahide laws and their 15-minute cities and they're eating of the bugs. Like, we ain't doing it. We ain't going out like no punk bitches, bro. Like, no, I ain't going out like that. So, anyway, let's see. And, okay, be warned. All right. We are at the crossroads, and the roads we take will now, the roads we take will now terminate whether we will live in the 21st century as a nation state, republics, or a subjugated, cold, and dehumanized crop of slaves. We're already a subjugated, cold crop of slaves, bro. This is not a representative republic anymore. It's a fucking banana republic is what it is. It's a banana republic. That's what it is. These last two elections, I mean, and I'm not saying like Trump didn't win this last one. I think that he also won the first one, but they just cheated. And I don't like him. I think literally if the futurist eschatology was a thing, I would legit think that Trump is the Antichrist. Okay, so just, you know, I'm not a political person at all. Excuse me. Okay, had to hit my vape. Dear reader, the situation is extremely grave. We are fighting a combined effort of some of the most brilliant people in history who scheme against us for the purposes of possessing us. But the human will is immortal. Tyrants have killed millions, and yet people fought and eventually won their freedom. Freedom stirs the human heart, and fear stills it. And the Lord has not given you a spirit of fear, but a power of love and of a sound mind. So what are we doing? Amidst the deafening cacophony of patriotic silence, insurgent voices command attention. Immortality has its moral basis in truth and incorruptibility. It deserves to be given all the support that it can get. It deserves to be fought and died for. Agreed. Finally, history teaches by analogy, not identity. The historical experience is not one of staying in the present and looking back. Rather, it is one of going back into the past and returning to the present with a wider and more intense consciousness of the restrictions of our former outlook. Francisco Goya's plate 79 of disasters shows the fair maid of liberty flat on her back, bosom exposed. Ghostly figures play about the corpse while monks dig her grave. Truth has died. Murió la verdad. How is that for an alternative? Forewarned is forearmed. It is not up to God to save us. It is up to us. We will never. Now, I disagree with that, but like, whatever. We will never find the right answers if we can't ask the proper questions. We can all win if we just believe that Jesus is the king of all of this stuff, and one day all will be rectified. That's it. That's it. He died. He rose. He went back up there. He came back down here like he said he would. Reigned for 1,000 years, and now we're like in the little weird end part, I think, or it could all be over with. I don't know. I haven't completely decided, but full preterism doesn't really make complete sense to me, so I'm a little seasoned person for the moment, but whatever. Okay, and that is the introduction by Daniel Estulin, Madrid, May 26th in 2011. He wrote this in 2011. Okay, here we have a nice picture of the Austrian painter. I'm sure they're going to have something negative to say, though. Counterinsurgency. Techniques for psychological manipulation of society are about as old as humanity itself. Feudal lords, to preserve and consolidate their power, forever have used punishment and torture as dissuasive agents of change. Quote, even thousands of years ago, it was not the techniques per se, but their conscious application as divide and conquer tools which aided the ruling classes. No matter how anti-human a particular technique or therapeutic approach may be, it is not in itself counterinsurgency. Counterinsurgency cannot proceed merely on horrors. It requires conscious and systematic application by the ruling class or its dupes, end quote. This was achieved by fusing psychology and psychiatry in the 1930s. Quote, the first massive application of psychology as a conscious weapon took place in Nazi Germany, especially in reference to eugenics. That's facts. Which played upon the most backward Aryan illusions held by and imposed on portions of the masses. But it doesn't matter because the freaking Bolsheviks are using it now. What do you think Planned Parenthood is? Bill Gates' grandmother, Margaret Sanger, started that. They are eugenicists. Bill Gates is a eugenicist. He had all his little schmaxines programs and him taking over a pill and now trying to take over like the organic part of it and spray whatever his little waxy poison is on all of our food. It's time to start growing your own, friends. Shit, I'm telling you, dude. It's not cool. It's not cool at all. But I love how they tried to put up these these traits and act like they're Nazi traits when they are totalitarian traits. And communism is just as totalitarianism as fascism, if not more so. Millions more people have died under communism than ever have died under fascism, baby. And you can bet you $1 to a donut on that one. Anyways. Okay. I honestly, I think this whole Nazi thing, I think the whole thing was a psyop. You know how I know the Jays do their psyops, bro? They're so good at it. Like, I think that it was a psyop because the Austrian painter was a J himself, bro. So, like, what do y'all mean? And then the whole, just don't even get, okay, anyways. While the cause and development of Nazi butchery stemmed wholly from the world economic collapse, its specific form, eugenics, was devised by Nazis' favorite theoreticians and technicians